God be the glory. Okay, to God be the glory. We just bless the Lord again for this opportunity. We say drumming is God's heartbeat, and that it reflects that God has given us a heart after Him, a heart that beats toward Him. And so these drums just are our response of just worshiping God, of praising God, of blessing God. And so join us and share with us, move. You got a heartbeat. It has a rhythm. So move with us in this. And so we're going to lift up another piece again from the homeland, from the motherland. It's Agagae. It's spelled A-J-A-J-A. And it means I am that I am. And it's the highest spirit we strive to be. We're always pressing toward better. Even in this, it is going to give us some knowledge, some wisdom, some understanding, some counsel, somehow making us better. So we strive for that every day. And it doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter, our background, doesn't matter what was. We are here today, and we are here to be better than we were yesterday. Amen. Agagae. Agagae. bless God and we thank God. I don't know, I know we were supposed to do something else, but I believe the Lord is speaking. If we can do marching to the light of God. This is where we are. This is who we are. In Him, we live and move and have our being. And in Him, we have our strength. And granted, we're discussing issues and circumstances and situations, but they're not greater than God. And so we're always in His light. And so we are marching in the light of God. Praise the Lord. In the light of God. Our ancestors had the blessings of God to keep them. It's going to take the same blessings, and it's the very same God that's going to keep us. And so we're marching in His light, and we're living and having our being in Him. And so we thank God and we bless God. We are the Queen City Senior African Drummers and Praise Dancers, and we're grateful. We're grateful. We're grateful. And God is our God, and He is our Lord, He's our Savior, He is our King. He keeps us moving. He keeps us moving. He keeps us moving. So to God be the glory. Thank you for having us here. Okay, all right, we're not done. All right, one more. And this, you gotta move, because it's a welcome song, and we'll ask our no, not today. Okay. And so just as the Spirit moves you, it doesn't matter, move your feet, move your arms, move whatever part of your body, because this is your time to say, thank you, Lord, that I can move. Even if it's an eyeball, move that. Eyebrow, move that. Whatever it is, move it to the glory of God. We're going to do, it's actually jingo, and we combined it with funga, so it's jingo funga, but it's welcome. And we are welcomed in this place. See, jumping and shouting didn't start just now. We've always done it. We've always been excited. We are demonstrative people. We have reasons to celebrate. Ashe. Ashe. To God be the glory. We thank God for having us. We thank God for just loving on us. We thank God for this gathering that He has brought us together and assembled us, and let us all just be blessed. Love on each other while we still can. Move these bodies while we still can. And just enjoy this day. God made it. Yes. Let us take the time to celebrate. To God be the glory. Blessings.
Good morning. Good morning. Praise the Lord. What day is it today? This is the day that the Lord has made, and give God some praise this morning. I have been sitting here and participated to some degree on the marvelous and extraordinary senior drummers. My goodness. You brought us all back home.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean that. I lived in Africa for a while, in Ghana, and I can appreciate the movements and the drums and all of that, and ashe, and it's important to celebrate our culture. Amen. And that's what this event is in part all about. Amen? Amen. So it is a joy to see all of you here again for our second week. Last Saturday was, in my mind, an extraordinary event. Wasn't to give God the praise. I was thinking last week how much the whole world should have been here to hear the presentation. It was so full of content. It was rich with information that all of us can incorporate, because I believe probably many of us, if not all of us, have been impacted by knowing someone with Alzheimer's illness or disease. I mean, in my own home, we took care of our parents for 10 years. Both of them had Alzheimer's, and they passed away in the last week. But it's more than a notion being a caregiver, I tell you that. And Mom, she was Alzheimer's, and plus she was blind, and she couldn't walk. So we had all of that to deal with. And so was Dad. He was Alzheimer's, but he could walk. But he had the mental illness, mental incapacity to function. So I want to salute all the caregivers, because it is a need. Yes, come on, let's salute all the caregivers. It's also a disease that's unfortunately has impacted so many of our lives. Years ago, when I was a young man growing up in Denver, Colorado, we had a Deacon Shelton, a great guy, but he would always end the prayer the same way every Sunday. And it'll go something like this: Lord, I thank you for waking me up in my right mind. Yes. Well, as a boy, I didn't understand that. I know it's coming, and every week the same prayer. My right mind, he was saying. Well, now I know what he meant. Amen. Because a lot of us wake up, but not in our right mind. And so we thank God for having the capacity to have a right mind. Amen. I pray for those who are struggling with it, because they know they're struggling with it. And I feel sorry for them, that all of us are engaged in the process of looking out for one another. That's what we do as a people. I also want to thank Biogen for bringing the Alzheimer's workshop community and conversation to the Charlotte faith community. The churches who are with us today, who are joining with us, thank you for your participation. We come together as a faith community, and it makes a difference, doesn't it? Yes. We come together and collaborate, we bring our resources together and make it all work. We at the Greer Heights Presbyterian Church, we are so filled with the mission of living healthier and better lives. A lot of our energy goes into that direction. I just finished, just on last Sunday, my second part of a two-part sermon on healthy living. And there are many, many biblical references about how to live not only healthy, but better. We talk about longevity in terms of life, but longevity is part of the issue. You want to live a long and healthy life. They go together, you know. And so we are so grateful that we are able to have that with us at the Greer Heights Presbyterian Church. We have a wonderful health ministry committee. Will they all stand? I see some of them here right now. The ministry from the Greer Heights Presbyterian Church. These are the stalwarts who work tirelessly making sure that this community, not just the church, but the whole community is aware of how we can do things to live life in a healthier way and in a better way. And we give all of that credit to our Creator. When God made us, He wanted us to live in a healthy way. And when you read biblical references, I counted at least 75. I'm passing out next Sunday all of the biblical references. I'm giving everybody a copy of it, where it talks about healthy in body and healthy in mind and healthy in spirit. You got to be healthy all around, you know. Healthy in body, healthy in mind, and spirit. And the Bible talks about that, because stress can kill you. But if you follow the biblical mandates, you will have less stress in your life. So I want to acknowledge and give thanks to our health ministry committee here at the Greer Heights Presbyterian Church. And I want to once again extend our appreciation to all of you for being here this morning. It is a delight to see you here. Let's learn a lot today and take what we learned back out of this environment to our homes, our community, to our relatives, to our children even, and our grandchildren. Amen? Amen. Let's have a word of prayer. Holy God, our Father, we count it a blessing to be able to be here this morning. You woke us up by your grace and your mercy, and we are here today in the name of your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. We thank for all those who are here, and for those who will be participating and leading the discussion today. And we ask your divine blessing upon each of our families, for those who are living with Alzheimer's and those who are caring for those with Alzheimer's. And we pray, Lord, that you give all of us the strength and the wisdom to do what must be done. We give you the praise and the glory in the blessed name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. My notes say, which I didn't finish reading, I am now to introduce one of the members of our ministry, health ministry committee. Shara Simmons will come now and give us further information. Shara, I'm introducing you now. I'm reading my notes all the way. God bless you. Please welcome Shara Simmons.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for that introduction, Pastor Tucker. It fills my heart to see everyone here this morning. We definitely appreciate you all coming out, and we know that this workshop will be a blessing to you and others as you share this important information. Once again, acknowledge and thank all of the pastors and their members for their partnership of recruitment and unification for kingdom building, for better health that helped make this program a success. So if you are a member of one of the following churches, would you please stand? Greater Bethel AME, Greater Salem Church, New Creation Baptist Church, Church on the Grove, 15th Street Church of God.
Amen.
Let's give them a round of applause. Next, I'm going to introduce Mr. Howard Mosby. He is the Hill Collaborative co-founder and corporate treasurer. And if you would please, Mr. Mosby, come up and let's give him a round of applause as well.
Good morning. Good morning. Now, this is awesome. Pastor Tuggle, you the man. You are. And we want to thank you for letting us come into your house. This is not something that you see across this country. We are Hill Collaborative. We're a small nonprofit that tries to bend the curve to make sure that communities of color are healthy. Amen. As simple as that is one of the most complex things there is to do, because if you take the metric, we're either at the top if it's the worst, or at the bottom if it's the worst. And so we want our communities to participate in the fullness of what we call America. And so this is about bringing information to you. This is bittersweet for us because this is the last one of these programs this week. This is almost like we moved to Charlotte for the last 2 weeks and had an opportunity to really enjoy the hospitality of your great city. This has been awesome for us, and we appreciate your hospitality. The thing I want to leave with you is Matthew 15:21. And this is where the woman had the daughter that was vexed by a spirit. And she cried out to the Lord. Because as caregivers, you have to take that step when they can't do it. And this is about us being able to empower you, give you the tools necessary to take care of those loved ones in your care, to ensure that they get what they need. And indeed, it's our honor. My Hill Collaborative team is with me. We have our board chairman, Mr. Julius Spears, sitting on the audience. Stand up, sir, so people can see you. And you all know the person that's holding the phone back there, Gabrielle Jones. She is our wonderful. She's done awesome. We couldn't do this without people who stood behind us. Biogen is an excellent organization that has wrapped their arms around us. We are intentional in the individuals that we bring before you, because this is us, this is our community as well. And so who I want to bring up today is Sabine DaCosta. She is over the clinical trials lead for Biogen, and I want her to bring welcome remarks from our sponsor, Biogen.
Amen. Hello everyone, greetings. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me in your homes. At Biogen, we pioneer science, and we pioneer the type of science that defeats complex and devastating diseases. In our community, we understand that because we are affected by those diseases on an everyday basis. I have with me one of my colleagues, Sangeetha, and she works in the Alzheimer space every single day. So I'm not gonna be long here because I actually am participating today, but I'm so overwhelmed. I was online last week because I couldn't travel here, but Charlotte has opened his arms and welcomed me, and I appreciate that. And it just, my parents were from the South, they're from Sumter, South Carolina. So I get that welcome home spirit, even though I was born in the North. So Biogen is trying to do things differently. I know a lot of times people see Big Pharma and they're like, oh no, all they want to do is profit, and all they want to do is give us drugs. So the church says train up a child. I was born and raised in the church. I was trained up. So I'm trying to take what I learned and do it differently and bring it to my community and help the best way I know how. So thank you for allowing me to do that in Charlotte and walk in this walk with me. So greetings from Biogen.
It's me again. So before I go into why we're here today, just a little bit of housekeeping things. If everyone would please silence or put your phones on vibrate. We don't want any unintended interruptions. And why we are here today, the goals of this part 2 are to increase our knowledge and understanding of the role proper nutrition plays in keeping the body strong and healthy, especially for our loved ones living with Alzheimer's or dementia. Poor nutrition may increase behavioral symptoms and cause weight loss. We'll learn about basic nutrition tips to help boost our loved ones' dementia health and health as caregivers as well. Clarifying historical harm and lack of safety in medical research that was done to African Americans. Learn about the progress that was made in clinical trial safety and our rights as participants to ensure and expand our opportunity for inclusion and participation in clinical research so that we can benefit from high quality care, services, treatment, and we'll also learn about local clinical trials in Alzheimer's and how we can be a part of that research. So, are you all ready?
Oh, yes.
All right, good. So let's say like the comedian Tiffany Haddish, we ready? So we'll now start with our first session, and it's how good nutrition can contribute to good brain health. The moderator for this session is Dr. Lashida David. She is a member of our Health and Wellness Ministry. And as I sit down, Dr. David will come to the stage and moderate. Enjoy.
Good morning. Good morning. Wow, I am so excited about today. As was mentioned, thank you, Shara, for that introduction. I am Dr. Lashita David. I am actually a member of the Health and Wellness Ministry here, as well as I am an optometrist in Concord. So I am so excited about today's topic of nutrition because every day in my patients, I have patients not only struggling with all types of health issues, but also struggling with memory, and I always have to circle back around with nutrition. How are you eating? How are you exercising? So I'm so excited to bring up our next guest speaker because I remember her when she was just a child, when she was born, and she's impacted our family in so many ways. She babysat my children, she's worked in my office, and now she's an amazing woman. And she is Dr. Renee Alexander. Yes, Dr. Alexander is a PhD and holds a master's degree in public health. She is currently a research project manager at the University of North Carolina's Nutrition Research Institute. Dr. Alexander will come to the stage and tell us more about her background as well as her work in nutrition and brain health.
Amen.
Dr. Alexander, please join us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here to just speak with you more about nutrition and just share a few tips. Because I know a lot of times we get nutrition information, whether it's from our doctor, whether it's online, whether it's from a friend, a radio station. We get nutrition messages every single day. And it can be a little daunting when you think about it. They say you should eat this one day, you shouldn't eat this the next day. So what I want to do, I just want to share with you 6 tips, 6 nutrition tips that you can incorporate into your diet, whether that's one time a week, every day. I like to say start with baby steps and set small goals. So hopefully these tips and these food items can be supportive to you, whether you're a caregiver, whether you have some form of Alzheimer's, or whether you just want some nutrition tips for the morning. I hope that they will be helpful for you. And so before we get all the way into it, I like a little call and response. The educator in me likes to hear the room. So I'm gonna ask you all a few questions. When you think about the overall function of the brain, what are some of the things that your brain does? And anybody can just call them out.
It controls your heartbeat.
Heartbeat, I heard that.
Okay, movement.
Movement, thought, and memory. So those are some of the top 3. So I'm gonna start with heartbeat. And so that is what we call the automated response. So you don't have, we're all sitting here breathing, and we don't have to tell ourselves, well, probably me, I'm a little nervous, like, make sure you breathe, you know. Typically, you don't have to tell yourself that, or you're hearing me say this information. You don't have to remind yourself, hear or listen. Well, typically you don't have to remind yourself to listen. So you don't have to tell your heart to beat or your blood to circulate. That automatically happens. And then you said movement, and that's what we do voluntarily. So when we stand up, when we clap our hands, we're not just standing up out of control. We know how to control those movements. And then someone said memory and thought. So if you ate breakfast this morning, you know how to prepare your breakfast. So if we went to Chick-fil-A, I know we're talking about nutrition, but if we went to Chick-fil-A, you would know your favorite order, if that's the place you like. If someone said, what do you want? I know I can recite my order very quickly. So that's a part of that memory, and then thoughts and how you think. And so typically, when we think about nutrition, much of the nutrition or diets that you hear are targeted towards something. So it could be the automated response, such as your heart. So it's nutrition for heart health. It could be the movement. So nutrition to build muscle, nutrition maybe to maintain weight or to lose weight. But some of the food items that I do have a few pictures, but some of these food items that we'll talk about today are for your overall brain health. So they can be utilized really for any aspect. And so much of these items are based on what we call the Mediterranean diet. And I'm not big on using the word diet. I just think about it in terms of just our eating behavior, our relationship with food. Because sometimes the word diet can be a bit intense, and it's this weird cycle where we feel like we're doing good, then something happens and we fall down and we're on the cycle again. For me, don't do that. So I like to think about it as just thinking about improvements to just our overall day-to-day eating behavior. And so the first food item is, those were the functions of the brain y'all called out like that. So we can transition to the next slide. And one more slide. Boom. All right. So these food items, so when we think about it from a protein perspective, the first one is fatty fish. So like your salmon, your mackerel, tuna, And maybe some people in here like little sardines. Sardines are actually a very healthy fish for you. So that is what they have, the omega-3s. So you can think about your B vitamins, your fish oils. And so really what that does, it helps your brain communicate. So when you tell yourself, it's time for me to get up out of the bed, those neurotransmitters, those highways in your body, that supports that brain communication, and also communicating to your heart to beat and your ears to hear. So having some form of fish in your diet. Now I know we like a little salmon croquette, salmon patties. So if we gonna do those, a tip for that, right? We might not deep fry them, but we might bake them as an option. So it's still not like you're taking out your food items. Some people just don't like plain grilled fish, but that's just an example of how you maybe can still have that type of fish and prepare it in a way that might be a little bit more helpful for your body to function. So even in the same lane with that fatty fish, omega oil, you might use some form of canola oil or olive oil. Olive oil sometimes can be a little bit pricey to me, depending on where you get it from, but canola oil is also a good option in terms of that omega-3. And then for the next one, a lot of people don't like fish, or some people like to mix it up. So having your lean protein, like your grilled chicken, maybe your baked chicken, some form of turkey, but a leaner meat, because the protein is the building blocks. It helps to build up your brain, it helps to build up your muscles, and it also helps after we eat. They say, okay, you have your proteins, your vitamins, but where does that go in the body and how does that really work? Protein is a part of helping what we call break down and support that food and telling it where to go. And then the next item that was on there were nuts. And so nuts are also a really healthy snack that you may want to keep around, and they are also typically rich in your healthy fats, like your omega-3s, and also your B vitamins. And so there's several B vitamins, but what I like to say, I don't know, I might be dating myself a little bit, but when I think about it's a song, it's about it, no limit. But your B vitamins are about it in your body in terms of helping fight and break down those vitamins and those nutrients so your brain can actually work and function. So helping you break down those nutrients in your body. And so nuts are typically filled with your B vitamins as well as your healthy fats like your omega-3s. And then our next one. So I know there's a lot of messaging about don't eat carbohydrates. I think you should do what works best for your body. But in terms from a nutrition perspective and what we're seeing in research, actually whole grains are good because your brain needs the energy. So typically if you go all day and not eat, or if you take out maybe no carbs, you may feel a little bit sluggish, a little bit tired, or maybe anxious. Whole grains provide your brain and your body the energy to keep going. And your brain does a lot of work. We talked about the heartbeat, the hearing, your thoughts, your memory, the movement. So it needs some type of energy. So maybe it's your oatmeal, your brown rice, your sweet potatoes, maybe quinoa if that's what you like, depending on how you prepare it. Those are just some examples of that whole grain, or maybe just a slice of whole wheat toast. And then the other two, you saw your berries and your leafy greens. And so in terms of fruit, strawberries, raspberry, any type of berry, and leafy greens like our collards, our kale, maybe our spinach, but those are what we call, they have a lot of antioxidants. And you may hear antioxidants, but typically what they do in terms of supporting the body, when we are stressed or maybe when we get sick, our body has what we call a response. We want our body to respond to sickness and respond to stress. And typically we get inflammation. And inflammation isn't bad. It's only not good if it's there too long. So it's like being tense for a long time. You brace yourself, which is good. But if you're like that, in that position for a long time, that can be hard on your body. So essentially that's what your cells do on the inside. And so to help reduce that oxidative stress or that inflammation, antioxidants help support that. So that's why your berries and your leafy greens are like your warriors or your brain shield to kind of help reduce that stress. So, I know I said a lot. So I'm gonna go over the top 6 food items to support brain health. So the first one was our fish, our fatty fish, which has those omega-3s. Our next one are leaner proteins. So more of our lean chicken, our lean types of turkey, and also nuts. So nuts are a good snack to kind of just keep around. Maybe when you're hungry, when you're at home, you need a little crunch, keep you some nuts around. And then our next one are our whole grains to give your body the energy that you need. And then your berries, so in terms of fruit, berries, and leafy greens, such as your spinach, kale, or cotton. So those are some of the top 6 brain boosting foods.
Very good. Love it. And I have a question.
All right, well, thank you so very much, Dr. Alexander, for that. That was very simple and basic, so we have no excuses to implement, correct? Correct. Well, I know, Dr. Alexander, you mentioned inflammation and foods that could reduce inflammation. So is it possible for you to give us some ideas of those foods that may cause inflammation?
So y'all know how I get that Chick-fil-A analogy in the beginning. I'm not saying, so I don't like to look at food as like this is a really bad food or this is a really good food, because sometimes that can put us on edge in terms of eating and cutting out certain foods. But typically your foods that are highly processed. So foods that can stay on the shelf for a long time. So you might get the bag of chips, chips will stay on for a long time versus a potato is gonna go bad. So typically foods that are processed and high in sugar are foods that can cause inflammation. So I wouldn't say just don't eat it, but just think about eating that in moderation or doing some substitutes. So if you eat chips every day, you might take it down to 6 days and take it down to 5. And so do those gradual changes.
Now, what nutrient deficiency can sometimes be associated with Alzheimer's?
That's a great question. So I would say, I know in terms of like Alzheimer's and brain health, the research is still out, because Alzheimer's and dementia is something very new in terms of science. Sometimes science can be a bit farther behind than a lot of people think. So in terms of research, that's something that they're still looking into. But one thing that is supportive, I think, in terms of that brain and cognitive health for Alzheimer's and dementia goes back to those omega-3s, your vitamin D, as well as those B vitamins. And so those are typically the nutrients that when they look at it from a nutrition perspective, that have been supported in terms of just overall cognitive function.
All right, so now we're ready to take some questions from the audience. I believe I saw a hand, yes.
I have a question.
You mind standing up, please?
Pastor Reed from Church on the Grove. I have a question about bloating. So a lot of the foods that you name, I get bloated. Is there anything, or is there any food that help me out?
So I would say one piece, think about how, I don't know how you prepare food, because sometimes depending on how foods are prepared versus eating a salad, so eating spinach raw versus cooking it, sometimes can play a role. It could be maybe the seasoning or types of seasoning or flavoring that could be used. And then it also could be something in terms of maybe talking to your physician or primary care, which that's, I think, for everybody, because a lot of times we may have, it could be a deficiency, it could be something you're allergic to and not even know it, and that could be a part of that process. But I would talk to you afterwards, and if you like, we can talk about exactly what those are, and then we can look through some strategies.
Okay, thank you.
regarding nutrition, what is the number of servings of the 3 food groups that you think we should have? Should you just have 1 or 2, 5 up to 12, or whatever?
Good question. So typically, when they look at nutrition servings, so you may see my plate, and they might say, hey, it's 2 to 3 cups of, it could be vegetables, and they do it for women, and they base it off different age ranges or groups. But then there's this another perspective of what we call individualized nutrition, in terms of what works for me may work differently for Pastor Tuggle. So my advice in terms of servings, when you eat your plate, think about the rainbow and what are the colors on your plate. Because typically our fruits and vegetables are our bright colors, our reds, our yellows, our green, our oranges. And if you think about it like that in terms sometimes of servings, instead of having to measure out and just say, okay, for breakfast, what types of colors do I have on my plate? I have a little brown for my oatmeal. Let me put a little splash of purple and blue for my berries. So just thinking about your plate and what colors are on in your meals when you eat is a good way to do that.
Yes, sir. Could you please start?
Okay. Well, Dr. Alexander, it's a pleasure to see you up there. I'm Rob Fuller, member of Greer Heights. I have 2 questions, well, 1 question in 2 parts. To supplement your diet, is it taking fish oil, pills? Oh, thank you, man. Taking fish oil pills, ones that have omega-3 in it, and also supplement your diet with multiple vitamins.
So first I would say always talk to your doctor, because sometimes like vitamins, so what we call vitamin and nutrient interaction. Your nutrients, what you eat, and the vitamins, what you take in, they can interact in your body, just like chemical reactions in a different way. But I know for sure with fish oils, I actually went to a talk 2 weeks ago, thank the Lord, about the fish oil talk. And they talked about having those fish oil supplements to support cognitive health. So before if you haven't started taking it, before you take it, of course, talk to your physician, because it could be too, if it's certain medication that you're on, they may not always interact properly together and do the positive benefit that you're looking for. So I would say first, before you do start taking any new supplement, talk to your physician. But they have seen positive benefits in omega-3s and fish oil supplements. Just talk to your doctor first.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good morning, my name is Judith Bentley. I am with the Church on the Grove. You mentioned that nuts were good for snacking and that type of thing. Now, I've heard from other individuals that certain nuts are good and certain nuts are not good. So can you tell me which is better? I personally like cashew, but which is better and why?
Good question. So in terms of nuts, they have some, when you think about ranking in terms of like having that higher content of those healthier fats. So like your almonds, your walnuts, pistachios, pumpkin seeds are also an excellent source, even though it's a seed, it's like a nut, they're also an excellent source of magnesium and protein. And so even with nuts, the serving, they say, is like 1/4 of a cup, but like, who really knows 1/4 of a cup? We're not measuring that. Well, but you might just, I like to be realistic, because I know life happens, and we might do that sometimes, but that's not, at least for me, a typical behavior. So thinking about having like a little small handful of those, and also getting the, what I like to do, they have like the heart healthy nuts with their almonds, pistachios, walnuts, but I just make my own mix. I might go and buy them in bulk and then just put them in small bags and keep them in my purse or keep them in my car, especially in the wintertime. Sometimes keeping nuts in the car during the summer doesn't always keep the healthy benefit in terms of what nuts are for, but keeping them in your purse or car. But I hope I answered answered that. The walnuts, almonds, pistachios, peanuts are also positive too. And getting ones that are lightly salted and roasted are typically better than kind of like your nuts prepared in oil. I would say like the fried nuts.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander. So what I'm hearing you say is I shouldn't have 2 pieces of fried burger at the tailgate. I should only So question regarding, I have to be honest, I love fried food. Is air frying a great substitute?
That is a great substitute. And I can't shade you on the fried burger because I was at my tailgate last week. And I did have some fish, and I probably had some fish at the tailgate next week. But what I will say is in terms of moderation, right? So we're not frying something every single day or eating fried food every day. So air frying is an excellent option, especially if you really like fried food and you don't want to just cut it out. I think it's a gradual process depending on where you are in terms of nutrition. So air frying is a great option as well as baking some items.
My name is Rosita. How you all doing today? My question is, you talked about lean protein. You didn't say anything about red meats. Also, I've been a caregiver for my mom since 2016, and I'm noticing that the older she's getting, and she does have dentures, and you talked about nuts, it's hard. So what do you suggest on that?
That's a good question. So the first thing in terms of red meat, from a protein and nutrient perspective, based on how red meat sometimes is processed, it has been recommended to limit your amount of red meat intake. But I know some people like red meat, which is fine. So I would recommend thinking about it in terms of buying maybe your leaner cuts of red meat, or if you get in some form of ground beef, you might get one that has a smaller amount of fat, because typically red meats have a higher fat content. And I'm glad you mentioned that in terms of nuts, because a lot of times with Alzheimer's and dementia, what we see, because the brain controls all of our muscles, not just that memory aspect, but swallowing can be swallowing can be harder for those with dementia. So maybe doing more of like your nut butters, like your peanut butter or your almond butter. And then I know some people may be allergic to nuts, but they also have like sunflower butter. And that's another example of still getting some of those, getting the healthy benefits of nuts, but processed in a different way. And I see the time now from this.
This was so interesting. I don't want to leave the topic. Okay, do we have any questions online?
No, I did not see any questions online.
Okay. Well, Dr. Alexander, thank you so much for sharing with us in your home.
Y'all give him a hand again. This indeed was awesome. We're now going to transition to our next panel, but before I do, we had an opportunity last night to have dinner with a group of men that actually talk about Alzheimer's. We had Bishop Wade Ferguson and a couple of gentlemen, and actually members of the churches that are part of this coalition. And it was great to hear the men's perspective on this. And it's just awesome to see us come together to have these conversations. So with that, I just wanted to mention that, Bishop is back there, he's gonna get me if I don't say that. So right now I want to bring up Shara Simmons again to bring up our next panel.
I'm going on the stage this time. So my name is Shara Simmons, and I am the co-chair of the Greer Heights Presbyterian Health and Wellness Ministry. My professional background is I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for 21 years. I know that I only look 21, so as soon as I came out, I became a nurse, but I've been a nurse for 21 years. And my background was women's health. I did that for 18 years, and then the last 2.5 years, I transitioned to case management. So my role in the hospital, I'm a nurse case manager, and I am responsible for patients' discharge plan, making sure that when they are discharged from the hospital, they have a safe plan. And I had the pleasure to speak with our next panelist during the week, and we discussed how in my role, I see a lot of patient abandonment. Unfortunately, a lot of caregivers or patients who don't have anyone to help them at home, they end up coming to the hospital and they don't have a plan. And so that is why they end up being abandoned, because they may not have the financial necessities to be placed somewhere long-term, or they may not have adequate coverage to have home health. And their family members. And I did forget one thing. You all receive packets, and you all receive a pre-survey, and it's on a gold piece of paper. So make sure that you fill out that pre-survey, and then at the end, you'll have a blue survey that you'll fill out. And at the end, the HEAL Collaborative representatives will come and pick those up. So let's make sure that we fill those out. So without further ado, I would like to introduce and have Ms. Sabine DaCosta come up. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, Ms. DaCosta. So if you would go ahead and introduce yourself, and we can start your presentation.
Sure. Thank you again for having me. So as she said, my name is Sabine DaCosta, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. So I am the last of 11 children, so my mama was very busy. And with that, we have seen a lot. So my brother passed at the age of 18 from leukemia. My sister had a rare form of cancer, thymus cancer. I have another sister that's battling chronic cancer. She has multiple myeloma. My father passed when I was 6.5 of cardiovascular disease. My mother passed 1.5 years ago from Alzheimer's. And I am a survivor of maternal issues, let's say. So my son was born at 1.5 pounds, 27-weeker. And praise God, he is 22 years old, and he has a cerebral palsy. So I come before you today full of passion as a caregiver. I am what's called a forever caregiver, because my son will be with me his entire life, or whichever one of our lives ends first. So I walk this walk with all of you intentionally. So I love the nutrition talk. I'm all about it. And I ask all of you to take a deep breath, because the topic I bring to you today is heavy. It's heavy because it's affected our community. In the past, history is what significantly impacts us today. It's the historical events that's impacted our lives today as it pertains to clinical research. So much of what was done in science in the past to our people has impacted how we think of healthcare today, quite honestly. We don't trust. We have had absolutely no reason to trust, because we were not given choice as to what happened to our people. But in saying that, we also have to look at what was done and what was learned from what was done, and try and figure out ways to move forward. So I learned to love science. And it's because of science that my son is alive today. And all of his 1.5 pounds fitting in the palm of my hand, he did his first clinical research trial at 2 pounds to figure out how he could breathe better. and help other kids in his situation breathe better without extensive intervention. Had it not been for other children, I don't know if they would have had the wherewithal to know what to do with him, because the first thing they said to me was, little black boys don't survive. They die at a greater rate when they're that premature. And you know what I said to them? God will be the teller of his story. You do what you do as a scientist, as a doctor, and let God does what he does, and then we will write his story. So I say all of that to you because I come to you today to talk about this timeline that we created at Biogen. Kind of put my creative hat on and I said, people have never seen how their rights can be protected in clinical research. They only know that they don't trust it. And over time, over years, we've said Tuskegee, those men were not protected. But what did they teach us? What came of Tuskegee? How can we stand on the shoulders of our men? Henrietta Lacks. They stole her cells, and modern medicine has benefited from that. Can we put the timeline up? So you all have a bookmark. And on the bookmark, can you actually put the timeline up so they can see the timeline? You have a bookmark, and there's a little QR code. And for those that are not digital savvy, if you put your phone, you don't have to do it now, but if you take a picture of this with your camera, it'll take you to this timeline. And on this timeline, there are a lot of events on here. And I did this because I wanted you to understand that we're not shying away from this discussion. There are several events on here. There's Henrietta Lack. We talk about the Havasupai Indians and what happened to them. Some of their samples were used, and they didn't want them used in a certain kind of way. We talk about the Brookwood Institute, where they took children and injected them with hepatitis in order to develop a vaccine. Who does that to children, right? Like, let's keep it real. Let's talk about that, right? And other things that happened in history. But again, in history. And you know, how long do we look at what happened in history and account for it today? And it's almost like what she said with nutrition. We have to try new things and we have to do new things. Not necessarily based on what was happening before, but what we can do today. Our community is sick and dying at an alarming rate from these diseases. And we're not looking at what's available today to benefit us and to be innovative for our communities. So my message today is, when we look at Tuskegee, and when you look at this timeline, when you have the opportunity, and you touch on Tuskegee, I did this in such a way, and I work with folks just like you, to explain to you what happened at Tuskegee, and you can click on it, and you can go out to the History Channel, because don't believe me. Never believe just any one person. Do your research. The History Channel will talk about it. They interviewed the families. What came out of this is what's called the Institutional Review Board, which consists of people just like you to look at our clinical trials and say, are they ethical? Are they the right thing to do for people? It also helps us to understand that clinical research is voluntary. You don't have to do it. It's a good thing to do. So when people say, how many people like us are in clinical research, we then can have answers for you. Right now, we have very little answers because only 15% of African Americans participate in clinical research. Hopefully in the future, we'll be able to say that there are more of us that participate in a variety of different ways. There are so many different ways you can participate. Right now, I have an Apple Watch on. For the past 2 years, I've been doing a study with my Apple Watch. Never went to a research site. There's nothing wrong with going to a research site. As a matter of fact, we have some folks here from a research site that are going to talk about that. But there are many ways you can participate, but use your voice. And what I most want you to understand is what happened in the past when we didn't have choice and people ran amok and did what they did was wrong. We know that. But now we're looking to the future and we have all of these things in place to protect our rights. like ethics training, like the Institutional Review Board, like common laws that say what happened was wrong and we have all of these things to protect us now. It's voluntary. Informed consent is there to tell you everything you need to know about the trial, but it's not a contract that you sign to say you have to do this to the end. If you don't like it, you can leave. You can walk away. You also can take someone with you. So if you're nervous and you don't completely understand what's happening, they're there to help you. You know? And like I said, the biggest part is you're not signing contracts. You can walk away, but it's intended to put medicines out. How many of you take an aspirin? A Tylenol? Guess what? That all went through a clinical trial. Anything that's in a pharmacy, anything you take, has all had to go through a clinical trial, and someone had to do it. So, I know it's a little heavy, but I just want you as a community to be aware that at this point, we're on the leading edge of what we can do as a community and how our voices can be heard and how we can be seen in doing this research. And we matter as a community, you know, and how our bodies work could be different than how other people's bodies work. And in order for us to know if this medicine is for us, we have to participate. And I'm not here to ask you to do a clinical trial. What I'm here to do is ask you to consider the possibility and to consider these as choices. When we had no choice in the past, we now have options and we have choice, and to at least exercise your choice. And clinical research doesn't have to be because you're dying and that's your last option. It can be a part of your treatment options. And a survey is research. Filling out the dotted lines is research. It doesn't have to be going in and getting poked. It can be a variety of different things. It's how you choose to start. And that's the gist of it. But take a look at the bookmark, take a look at the timeline. I think you'll enjoy it. We had a lot of fun creating it, thinking about the language. And the one update is Henrietta Lack's family just won their lawsuit and got compensation. Which is a great thing. And also the Havasupai Indians, they also won their lawsuit for the utilization of their samples. So they got their sample back. So great updates on what has been happening, and people are recognizing their wrongdoings and trying to make right.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lynn. Very important and pertinent information. A few questions. How much involvement can my caregiver have in clinical trial process if I decide to participate in a clinical trial?
100% involvement. They can come to every visit. As a matter of fact, I recommend it. I recommend that they come, they be a part of the informed consent process. We've actually evolved informed consent so that they can, there's little videos involved. If you don't understand what's being written or told to you, I would say don't sign anything until you 100% understand what it is. Keep asking questions. And if someone seems annoyed by that, then you don't need to be involved with them. Be comfortable. If there's any part of that that you're not comfortable with, walk away until you are comfortable. This is about you and your health care. I would recommend that when you go to the doctor. Take someone with you as an advocate to the doctor. Just like, and do the same thing in clinical research. Always be comfortable. And if your gut is telling you something, listen to your gut until you're comfortable.
If a patient is in a clinical trial, can they keep their same doctors if they decide to participate in that clinical trial?
Absolutely. Your primary care doctor is always going to be your primary care doctor. This is extra. And one of the beautiful things about clinical research is you're being observed all the time. So you're being under constant monitor for different things. So it's innovative. So particularly with Alzheimer's, there are different tests that are available in clinical research that you may not qualify for on an everyday basis. So some of the PET scans and the MRIs, they're on the leading edge, so you may not get them on an everyday basis that you may get in clinical research. There are also risks to clinical research that I'm sure my colleagues will speak to that you have to consider when you're doing this. So it isn't all flowers and glory. There are other things too that you have to think about.
Do we have any questions from the audience? If so, please stand and wait for the microphone.
I know this is a touchy subject and it's a little scary sometimes, but these are the things that we need to talk about in our community.
My name is Julius Spears and I'm with HEAL. Not so much a question, but just a comment. One of the reasons that we did not participate in clinical research in the past, as you said, had to do with trust. But more than that, we always felt that they're just using us as guinea pigs. I'm not going to be a guinea pig. You know, whatever they do, they really don't care about us. They just want to develop something that's going to benefit other folks, not necessarily us. So your point in terms of taking an aspirin, not just an aspirin, but if you take any over-the-counter medication, guess what? You're a guinea pig anyway. Because most of the time, we didn't participate when they were doing the research to develop those medications. But yet, you go take it because it's beneficial. What we're proposing, and what you're really talking about is, let's get in at the beginning. If they're developing these medications, let's make sure that they're going to be beneficial for us.
Absolutely.
So again, we're saying, we're not pushing anybody to participate, but weigh your options. You know, is this going to benefit me? Now, when I look around the room, a lot of people here are my age. You may say, I'm at an age now where I can care less. Well, you can, because you got kids, a lot of you. You got grandkids. And what are you passing down in terms of what could be beneficial to them? So again, think in terms of the big picture when you're talking about clinical research. Don't be afraid of it. She gave the perfect response. Ask questions. If you are uncomfortable, ask questions. And again, she really pushed the envelope because she's telling you to ask questions of your physician. You know, one of the things that, and I was listening to Dr. Alexander, one of the things that's of consequences, who do we listen to?
Yeah.
Because right now, every time you turn around, there are ads on TV. The benefits of this, that, or the other. So when you're talking to your physician, you need to ask questions. Again, I'm being long-winded, so I'm shut up.
You know, the other thing I will add to that is a lot of times we wait for our physician to recommend a drug. We didn't hear it from our doctor. And in our community, and a lot of times we don't get that recommendation from our physician. So what I've been recommending to my friends and family is recommend it to your doctor. If you find something that you feel is going to help, inform your doctor. I'm an advocate, patient advocate. I often have conversations with my son's doctors about things that they know nothing about. And what that does for them is now they have something that they can then recommend to other patients. Because they don't know everything. Doctors are great, but they are human beings. Their brain has the capacity to do so much, but they don't know everything. We have PhDs in ourselves.
Good morning. I am Abdul Knox, the pastor of Greater Bethel AME Church. Dr. Spears said we all are around the same age. So 25 years ago, when Dr. Spears and I were in college, I remember on the campus of Shaw University, we would get a lot of flyers about medical testing. I don't see that anymore. So the question I'm going to ask you, I asked you last night, but I'm asking again for the group. What outreach is being done for people like us, people that look like us, to participate in those clinical trials?
So probably what you were seeing, and I'm just gonna make an assumption, are usually in phase 1, they're called healthy volunteer studies, and they typically do those on colleges, and those are still going on. It depends on which company is doing what and what phases are going on. And there is still a lot of outreach, and we are doing different events. Sangeeta and I personally, we're doing things differently in events like this where we are doing education. I never want anyone to feel like I'm coming to them and asking them to participate in clinical research without them being educated on what clinical research is, and for people to be able to make educated decisions about their health. Because for me, that's where trust comes in. You need to know what you're deciding on before you make a decision. So for people to do research and not understand that piece of it is where trust is broken. So you'll see a lot of commercials about research. Now there's a lot on social media, but quite honestly, we have a lot of internet deserts in underrepresented communities. So that's not reaching them. So we need to figure out different ways where we can reach communities in a trusted way, where they can understand what we. So I think at this point, there's a lot of trying to figure out and listening to what's best for communities that we want to work with and that we need to work with, and what disease areas would be appropriate. And that's gonna come from you all. Reaching up into and not being afraid to tell pharma what you need. And having the appropriate people listen, and I think that's happening more now with the need for more diversity in clinical research. So if there's something you wanna say, you have people like me that are here to listen and be able to filter that message back into our companies and say, not every company is working in every disease area, but I do have friends in other companies that are working in certain areas, so if there's something you need, I may be able to send that message, or just send up, and the corporate numbers are on, every company has a corporate website. Tap into that and say, hey, these communities need this. They will listen to those messages. Trust and believe, they will listen. So use your voice and use it appropriately and say, we've got communities out here that are dying and struggling with this. What are you doing about it? It will get paid attention to. So I'm calling it reverse communication at this point.
So I was a bit hesitant in getting up to ask the question that I wanted to ask prior for the gentleman, because you mentioned a number of things that I could use. My question was before, with the mistrust that has gone on and is still present, because we, as a Medicare advocate, I work with seniors and I work with men and women. Mm-hmm. So in the pandemic, there was a lot of pushback in terms of all of the vaccinations that needs to come. And all of those cases and issues were mentioned. So my question is, because I still get it and I still hear and I'm still a representative of the community, how do I package the information to let it be palatable, to allow them to say, oh, well, maybe, as opposed to absolutely no? Because that is a lot of the pushback that I see and that I get and that we hear. We've had a number of talks, I can't remember what we used to call them, a number of talks where everybody got on the phone, and that was the number one prevalent issue, the mistrust. And I listened to the gentleman, and then again I listened to, and I wondered if I needed to ask the question, but I still, when I go into the homes, how do I deliver the package of the encouraging in order for them to say, okay?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and that's a lot, because there's mistrust and then there's vaccines. Because that's two different things. It's one and the same, but it's also two different things. People have a mistrust, and people also don't like vaccines. So that's like a double whammy. I sold vaccines for 10 years. And so when the COVID vaccine became available, there was also this speed that happened so fast that, can we trust it? Who did they do it on? And are they using us to do this? So there was a lot going on there, and they didn't necessarily, when they spoke to the science, it wasn't in a way that I think people could understand. And what people didn't know was that technology was being used on the Ebola vaccine years before, and how they developed that vaccine in Africa. So that information was not out there in the public domain for people to really see that it wasn't as new as people thought it was. So there was a lot. And I think having a consistent message out there and doing that for you would have been one-on-one communication. And I'll share a quick story with you. My niece, who is now 27, called me and cried because she's in New York City, and if they didn't get vaccinated, they were going to lose their job. And she had a 2-year-old at the time. And she cried because she did not want to get vaccinated, but she needed her job, and she just did not know what to do. So I told her, no judgment, but let's talk through this and help me understand why you don't want to get vaccinated. What are your fears? What do you know? I'm concerned about mRNA. I don't know what this is going to do to me. So we broke it down one thing at a time, and I found a really good video for her to understand the science and basically talked her off the ledge with her fears. And then in 2 days, she got vaccinated. So we kind of have to bring people down to the common, to dissipate the fear of everything. Because once people are so afraid, they can't hear anything else. Nothing else matters at all. So once we got to that point and she understands benefit risk, we even got to the point of, do you have papers in place that if something happens to you, your daughter will be taken care of? Because at the end of the day, if you do nothing at all and something happens, something could still be really bad that happens to you. And once we put all of those things in place, she finally made the decision to get vaccinated. And she was okay. And she felt good about that. So it's like putting the pros and the cons in place, dispelling some of the myths and the fears, and having good resources in place for people to look at, and then ultimately they can make a decision. But once all the fears and all the mistrust are there, you're never going to get people to a place where they can make a really good decision. And that's what this whole thing is about, having people be able to be in a place where they can make a good decision. And when we have all of that historical in place, and fear and mistrust, are we able to make a good decision? I don't think so, you know? And the decision may still be, no, I don't want to do it, but that's okay. But you're still able to make a good decision with educated information. And that's all I'm asking for. You know, be able to, as a community, as an individual, look at where we are today with the information we have today and the progress that we've made on the shoulders of our ancestors, and let what they did be for naught, but for progress, and be able to make good decisions about our health. And if that's not clinical research, so be it, but about our health. And start having healthy conversations at the dinner table about our nutrition, about our bodies, about our spirits, to move us to a better place, so that we can stop hearing on the news that we're disproportionately dying of these diseases because we're being diagnosed later and we're dying more. And I think that's where we can move our communities towards when we start to have these types of conversations. And the timeline was just a way for me to get that information to you all in one vehicle where you could click on them and see this stuff and not have to be on the internet trying to search all over the place to look for it, but have it in one spot to start that conversation.
Any more questions? Or do we have any questions online?
No questions online.
Okay, no questions online.
Hopefully this helped. It wasn't too heavy. It was just And I'll be around if anyone has any questions that they did want to ask. And we also have Ms. Shireen and Dr. Valori here that will be able to talk to local clinical research that's happening if you're interested specifically in that. Okay?
That was awesome, and Sabine just took the wind out of my sails that I was supposed to bring up Dr. Valori, and then I guess she did that for me. But let me read what's in front of me. I'm like Pastor Toga. I got the notes, so let me be obedient. Our next presentation will be focused on local opportunities for you. So we're going to take this up a notch. So you heard Sabine, now we're going to take it up a notch. Please take an opportunity, brain scan for memory loss or participation in clinical trials. So Dr. Valori is he's a physician certified in psychiatry and neurology. He's the principal investigator for the Alzheimer's Memory Center at the AMC Research Center here in Charlotte. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a hand. Come on up, Dr. Valori. He has his lovely dog here with him.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Valori.
Good morning.
Okay, yes, we're on now.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for being able to participate in our workshop today. Medical background, and then you can start your presentation.
Sure. I'm a board certified neurologist, and after medical school, I decided that I was going to participate in clinical research. And while I was preparing for my boards, I stumbled into a research center in Miami, Florida. They were looking for a research assistant. So I started a job with them, and then I realized that they were doing neurological research, psychiatric and neurological research. However, more and more Alzheimer's studies came around, and I became more familiar, and this was 1990. At that time, I decided that I was going to dedicate my career in Alzheimer's research. So I went ahead and did my residencies in neurology and psychiatry, and decided to move to Charlotte and open up my own memory center, and eventually went back to research, and we've been doing that for about 20 years, and 10 prior year experience in Alzheimer's research gave us the opportunity to be able to continue the work in Alzheimer's research. And right now in Charlotte, we have a dementia neurology clinic, and at the same time, we also conduct clinical research. I personally have done over 500 trials, studies in Alzheimer's disease, and we have recently been successful in helping approve some drugs that are out there right now for Alzheimer's disease, and we have another 10 studies ongoing. So I'm proud to say that I've been involved in the development of all the medicines out there for Alzheimer's disease, and our work continues. We have made great progress, but the work continues until we find a cure, or at least a cocktail of medicines to really control this devastating disease that affects not only the patients, but their family and the community and the healthcare industry in general, because this is a very tough disease and needs special attention, and that's why I felt on a mission to be able to get involved and do my best to make a difference, not only in the community, but generally the country and the world as a whole, as someone who took steps to help find some answers about this disease and what needs to be done.
Yes, so we can go ahead and start with your presentation. They'll bring it up on the screen.
Sure. Wow. Oh, I can see that. I'll just give you some statistics, just in general about Alzheimer's disease. I wasn't sure exactly what my presentation was going to be, and I got some guidelines about what to talk about. So we're going to study statistics. It's the most common cause of dementia. Just briefly, a lot of folks ask me what is the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's disease. I think it's a good time to discuss that. Dementia just simply means that the brain has been affected and that causes cognitive issues. In other words, dementia means brain disease that affects the cognition. Alzheimer's happens to be a form of dementia. So, for example, you can have dementia from alcoholism, from head injury, football players, boxers. You can have dementia from vitamin deficiencies. You can have dementia from infections and injuries. However, Alzheimer's happens to be the most common form of dementia. And for that reason, people use them interchangeably, whereas they're not exactly the same. If you're told you have dementia, that doesn't mean Alzheimer's disease. But if you're told you have Alzheimer's disease, that means you have Alzheimer's type dementia. So that's the definition of the dementia. It's the most common. It's the 6th leading cause of death in the US. It's the 4th leading cause of death among folks ages 65 years and older. About 6.7 million people in America are suffering from Alzheimer's disease of various stages. Next slide, please. Of Alzheimer's disease. The point of this slide is age is a big factor. Age remains to be the biggest risk factor for Alzheimer's disease to a point by the time you reach 85 years or older, there's a 50% risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. So at the age of 65, there's 5% risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, and it doubles every 5 years. So 5% at 65, 10% 70, 20% 75, and so on. By the time you're 85, excuse me, you have a 50% risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. In other words, if you put 10 85 plus years old in this room, more than likely half of them are going to go on and develop Alzheimer's disease. Next slide, please. All right, I guess we should not talk near, but so we talked about the 5%. Okay. I usually go to the podium. I'm here, so I can see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. It's old age. So basically, AD has a tendency to run in families, and the reason for that is, for example, there are a lot of genetic disorders that run in families. Does this thing work? Yes. So what happens is, for example, there are certain diseases. If the father has it, half of the children may have it, or if mother has it, the boys may have it, the girls may not have it. Alzheimer's disease does not follow that pattern, but we do know that it runs in families, clusters of families. For example, it can be from mother to daughter and so on, or it could skip generations. It's not uncommon when we take a good history, we find some aunt, some uncle somewhere in the back had some kind of dementia that was probably Alzheimer's disease, but at the time, 20, 30 years ago, they didn't know what Alzheimer's was. So it does have a tendency to run in families. However, we do see folks who have no family members and do develop Alzheimer's disease. Okay, we do know about some risk factors, like I said, age, sex, health, genetic susceptibility, diet, and that has a lot to do with it, and the lifestyle that can impact the presentation of Alzheimer's disease. For example, throughout the years, the gene that we have found that is increases your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease is called APOE on the bottom. And if you have E4, the genetic susceptibility gene, E4, your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease is significantly higher than someone who doesn't have the gene. Diet, I don't need to go on. She did a great job about the diet and exercise and the nuts and the fruits and the food and everything. And in fact, one thing I've noticed over the past 30 plus years I've done research, the way you take care of your body, the way you take care of your health, your diet, exercise, what you eat, what you don't eat, how you take care of your body has a significant impact. I have seen patients who live very good life, healthy life, and they're in their 70s and 80s, and they're destined to develop Alzheimer's disease. That's when they begin to have memory problems that presents as Alzheimer's, as opposed to someone who drank and smoked and ate whatever they could get their hands on, similar susceptibility, similar risk factors, but their dementia shows up in their 60s and 65 and 70s. So how you take care of yourself can actually impact how the disease is going to present and when it's going to present. Next slide, please. All right.
Saying it don't always happen to men, right? No, everybody doesn't.
Everybody's different. Next slide, please. Okay, so just a general overview. Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative brain disorder that affects memory, language, decision-making, planning, judgment, and organizing. Simply, the reason for that is a lot of folks, they look at Alzheimer's as just memory. And those of you who have dealt with folks with Alzheimer's disease know. Goes to the store, they get lost on the way home. Someone makes a bad decision, goes to the bank, take out all their money, give it to somebody else, and so on. So basically, it's more than just the memory. It's the judgment, problem solving, decision making, planning, organizing. And that's why I always tell my patients, children, family, it's not just the memory. If mom or dad goes to the store and gets lost, if they burn the food, if they forget the recipes, it's more than just a short-term memory. It's decision-making. Eventually, unfortunately, this disease progresses slowly over years. So a lot of people initially, they don't realize it. Even the doctors miss it in the beginning. 20, 30 years ago when we got into it, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was happening. Even up to this day, there are a lot of doctors who do not recognize it, and they send the patients to us when their patients are ready for nursing home. Like that, all these years of taking care of the patients, they did not catch it for various reasons, because family was not open about it, and the doctors who have 15 minutes to get patients in and out, they don't have time to sit down and discuss, what are the possibilities. Diagnosis of Alzheimer's is like opening a can of worms. Doctors say, if I mention that, the family is gonna come, they are gonna call me, they want this, they want that, I'm just, not gonna bother with that part. Not knowing that's probably the most important aspect of anyone's health. Without your brain, without your mentality, you would have the healthiest body. Nothing matters. Okay, early detection is early detection is important. Through the research, now we are finding out that the process leading to the diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease starts about 20 years before your symptoms even show up. So there's a lot of us out there with Alzheimer's brain, working, raising families, doing a lot of things, and have no memory problems. However, now with the new technology, we can recognize the people who are heading to Alzheimer's disease, but they don't know anything about it. We can only detect it by blood biomarkers, by PET scans, by spinal tap, blood work, and blood testing that is being developed to find who is going to develop Alzheimer's disease 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And a lot of people say, I don't want to know what's going to happen 20 years from now. Now with the new treatment plans, we can actually put a dent in the course of the disease so it doesn't get to that point of Alzheimer's disease. That's basically what we're working on. Basically, the timing is important, early detection. So it's never early to start looking into Alzheimer's disease and the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, just because of what I said. You know, the processes start earlier, and a lot of people say, you know, I don't have any memory problem. My father had Alzheimer's disease. My mother had Alzheimer's disease. My grandma had Alzheimer's disease. If you're over the age of 50, I highly recommend that you look into research to find out. There's some commercial test called 23andMe. You can just apply, and they will send, you know, it's like $100. They send you a kit, you do the cheek swab, you send it, and a couple of weeks later, they'll let you know if you have the susceptibility gene for Alzheimer's disease. And that should be a good wake-up call, so that way you can begin the discussion with your doctors to see if you can be tested, to see if you're heading to Alzheimer's disease, and begin the process of research to find out what's going on. Yeah, prevention study. Right now we're doing a prevention study where we basically identify folks who are at risk due to genetic factors, due to familial history, due to the markers. We bring them in, we test them, we evaluate them, and generally for prevention you should not be having any cognitive issues. So we bring you in, we do the evaluation, we check for markers. If you have the markers or the genes and strong family history, then we'll put you on a medication to prevent the development of Alzheimer's disease. That's probably the most important part of Alzheimer's research today, how do we detect it early on to intervene. I mentioned earlier, I've done over 500 studies in Alzheimer's disease. Out of the 500, we don't have, we only have a handful of the drugs. What happened to the other 495 studies? Simply because we were giving those medicines too late in the course of the disease. We didn't know about prevention. We didn't know about detection. So people came to us when it was too late. However, the research didn't stop there. We still tested these drugs, but unfortunately, 95% of the time, the products were not working because the damage had already been done to the brain for anything to be rescued. So that's why early detection and getting involved is extremely important. Next slide, please. Okay. Yeah, when I started the research back in 1990, there was nothing we could do. We didn't know a lot. All we did with patients with Alzheimer's disease is give them antidepressants, give them anti-anxiety, give them antipsychotics to keep them quiet so the family would have peace. They would have peace, they would sleep well, they would not get agitated, they would not get delusional, because as the disease progresses, now what happens is Alzheimer's has two parts. One part is the cognitive issues, and the other part is the behavioral issues. So if you miss that, then you're missing the boat. So as the disease progresses, behavioral problems begin to show up. I've had patients for years, we're following them, we're treating them, and as soon as the behavioral issues show up, you can tell that the disease is progressing. Suddenly they become agitated, they isolate, they begin to see things, imagine things, they get aggressive, and that's the part that makes a big difference by early diagnosis, early detection, and then we have to deal with the behavioral manifestation of the disease, which is an entirely different animal altogether. You know, we try to deal with their memory disorders, but at the same time, we have to deal with the agitation. And that's when the families really get frustrated, because initially, someone has forgetfulness, you know, they're living their lives. But when they begin to get up in the middle of the night, get dressed, or take a shower, get dressed, get ready to go to work, when they're like 80 years old, and the family says, you retired 30 years ago, what are you doing? So they think it's time to get up, they wander around the house, they try to leave the house, they come banging the doors of their family members to wake everybody up. They get agitated, they get uncooperative, they don't want to take a shower, they don't want to change their clothes. That's when, you know, all the antennas go up, something is wrong. Let's see what's going on, let's get some help. In 2021, aducanumab was the first conditionally approved medication. It's an anti-amyloid antibody, and I'll explain to you what that means. Through the research, we have determined that there are certain risk factors besides the health, besides the genetic factors. Now we can detect certain abnormal proteins begin to accumulate on the brain 20 years before the disease shows up. The first protein is amyloid. It's one of those proteins that we all make. However, in patients who are developing Alzheimer's disease, that clearance of the amyloid is incomplete. So because of that incomplete clearance, they begin to accumulate and sit on the brain cells. Once they sit on the brain cells, they begin a cascade of damaging the brain, damaging the internal structures of the brain cells, causing another protein called tau protein. Tau protein and amyloid protein have been implicated in majority of the cases of Alzheimer's disease. And for that reason, the drugs that we are working on are medicines to go and fight those proteins by chewing them up, by dissolving them. In that process, we are hoping to slow the process of Alzheimer's progression. So medications like aducanumab, is also called Aduhelm, was the first drug, anti-amyloid antibody that was approved, and is in the market right now. It can be obtained. And another medication called lecanemab that was approved last year and was fully approved in January of this year, 2023. So those are the two main drugs that we have been successful. They actually do slow the progression of the disease. They have shown in clinical trials. However, they do have their own set of side effects that physicians who prescribe it, they have to be aware of it. They have to know what to do. If something happens, it is a side effect, what to do about it, because a lot of physicians are not, are not familiar with these drugs. So, but they're out there, and like right now, over the past 3 decades, multiple compounds. We are working on various compounds in different stages of development. There are many theories, about causes of Alzheimer's disease. And having been doing this for so many years, I tell you, there's not one thing that causes Alzheimer's disease. It's multifactorial. Many things, many bad things have to happen to the brain for someone to develop Alzheimer's disease. It's not just the amyloid, it's not just the tau protein, it's multifactorial. Again, biopsychosocial, how you live your life, what you do, and there's theories about inflammation, there's a theory about diabetic control. In fact, folks with diabetes are at highest risk of developing Alzheimer's disease simply because brain uses sugar for food. No matter what happens to the brain, it will get its sugar from the body. That's why, people who go on hunger strike, the whole body melts away because the brain is trying to drain all the sugar. And by doing that, if you've seen people on hunger strike, they lose everything, but the brain is still there. Because brain is going to get its sugar from the body no matter what. So sugar metabolism is extremely important in the development of Alzheimer's disease. Right now, in fact, we are working on drugs that are supposed to control the blood sugar level, blood sugar metabolism, in order to slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease. So it's more than just a protein. There's inflammation. Some inflammatory cells begin to get active when Alzheimer's begins. Again, with the sugar control, anti-inflammatory, there are some autoimmune theories that the immune system begins to attack the body, not uncommon. So there's a lot going on to develop Alzheimer's disease. I already talked about that, about amyloid hypothesis, and although there are many theories out there, but amyloid and tau protein hypothesis remains to be the strongest, simply because, first of all, we can detect it, and once we detect it, the chances of those folks developing Alzheimer's is highly likely. And then, once we give them medicines to reduce those proteins, we begin to see some slowing and stability of the disease. And that's how we feel strongly about this class of drug, because it's beginning to show some results, some benefits. Anyway, so going back to research, I'm a research physician and I've dedicated my career in research. And if people ask me, what would you do if it was your mother or your father? I say, well, if my mother had Alzheimer's disease and she had the opportunity to participate, I'll be the first one in line. Simply because knowing what we know about this disease, we should do everything we can to take care of ourselves, take care of our loved ones. And I understand there's taboo about research. The bad things have happened in the world of research. You mentioned Tuskegee trial. However, after a lot of those experiments, IRB, Institutional Review Board, there's strict government criteria. Not everyone can just do whatever they want. I mean, we are heavily regulated. In fact, someone who's in research, there are so many folks that we have to answer to. There's no room for mistakes. There's no room for not doing the right thing. And although, there's always some motivation in some of the research, but in general, the medical community, the scientific community is dedicated to find disease-modifying drugs, cures for these diseases. And in fact, I don't know if you're familiar, the African Americans are at the highest risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. And then there's Hispanics, and then there is the Caucasian. So, however, the minority groups consist of only 15% of the folks who participate in research. And I have a lot of patients, African American, Hispanics, Asians, and I understand their reluctance about getting in research. However, what I'd like to relay as a message is everyone is treated equally, regardless of what they have, what they don't have, what color, what race, what religion. We're all in this together. That's why it's extremely important. Yeah. In fact, I had one patient, perfect, nice guy. He has the markers, he has the genes. And I offered him the research, and he said, I'm a black man, and I've heard, bad stories. And for that reason, he didn't want to participate in research. Educated, nice guy. So I finally, told him, I said, listen, these are the options. You're not going to be treated any differently. So for that reason, we do have some folks, African Americans, who get involved in research, but we just need to do more. And the reason for that is because we are all part of the community. I'm a minority myself. So I understand how how folks feel when they're a minority, but in general, right now, the Food and Drug Administration and the scientific community, they don't care what color you are, they don't care where you come from or what's your background, they want to help. The importance of that, not only helping the folks and the community, but also the race differences do make a difference. We've been testing drugs that are just not for African Americans. There are drugs that, Hispanic folks don't do well. So we need to know those differences to be able to develop drugs that is going to help everybody, not just certain population. Are we done with this slide? Oh, okay. So, sounds scary, we talked about that. A lot of people say, I don't want to be guinea pig. Thank God for guinea pigs. If it wasn't for guinea pigs, we would have nothing to give to save lives. I mean, people are living in their 80s and 90s, whereas 100 years ago, 50, 60 years ago, average life expectancy was 65, 70. So people are living longer simply because of these research and development in different stages, different conditions, different medical issues, simply because people have been open about the research. Like it was mentioned earlier, as a research subject, you're taken care of a lot better than you would ever be taken care of by your primary care physician. We do labs, we do EKGs, we do urinalysis, we check every single aspect of the patient's health. In fact, when we get folks for the research, we do a thorough screening. And if I find some medical condition that would make it unsuitable or too risky for a certain person, that person will not get into research. And we are obligated by the FDA to monitor these folks and make sure they come healthy, they stay healthy, and they leave the study healthy. So as far as the worries, you get, as a research subject, they get first-class medical care. So, we have had our successes, we've had our failures in research, but believe me, the word guinea pig, I hear a lot. If it wasn't for guinea pigs, we wouldn't have any medication. So we need to keep an open mind, we need to be open, and in fact, one of my arguments with my patients is, you could have the healthiest body, if the brain is not working, nothing matters. If you're developing memory disorder, taking care of your memory disorder should be your #1 priority. Because without the brain, nothing matters. If you don't know what's going on, you don't know who is who, you don't recognize your spouse or your children, nothing matters. That's why we all have to get very serious about research and trust the research community. Okay, next slide. Yeah, hear about the rats, animals, guinea pigs, we talked about that. So, people are living longer, many cancers. Right now, look at the cancer research. They're finding cures for cancers. If it wasn't for the guinea pigs, healthy volunteers, open-minded individuals, we wouldn't have any of them. So Alzheimer's disease is no different. We need the help. Right now, in our research program, we are enrolling for about 10 different drugs, and we are so we are very busy, but we would love to have representation from the community, and that's why the government and the pharmaceutical industries are emphasizing the diversity, emphasizing inclusion, simply because we need that data to be able to tell if a drug is safe or not safe for a certain population and how it affects it. I've been doing Alzheimer's research for 33 years. I tell you, in thousands and thousands of patients I have seen, I have not seen two people alike. That's how different we are. Even within Alzheimer's, there are different forms of Alzheimer's disease that we are looking at, we are finding out. So for that reason, everybody needs to get involved. Everybody needs to be part of this. So the results we have is a representative of the whole population, not just a small group. Double blind, that's another thing. A lot of folks ask me, the nature of the research is they call it double blind nature. Double blind nature means some people get the drug, some people get the inactive, placebo, sugar pill or whatever. So what happens is, if it wasn't for the double blind nature, we wouldn't be able to tell. FDA says, okay, you have this drug, good, looks good, sounds good. I want to know what you compare this to. So the people who took the drug versus the people who didn't get the drug. The people who took the drug did better than the ones who didn't. And that's the basis of the approval, to be able to compare who got the medicine, who didn't. However, most of the studies we do, they do promise the actual treatment after a double-blind period. It means, 6 months or a year, you go through the double-blind nature, not knowing what you're getting, after which many of the studies will reward you with the actual treatment for a year, 2, 3. I've had people who are on a drug for 10 years because they went through that first phase and now they're getting the actual drug. So there is a good reason for the double-blind nature. My argument about the placebo, another argument is, let's say worst case scenario, we're testing a drug that 50% get the medicines and 50% do not get the medicines. So I always tell the patients and their families, if you participate, you have 50% chance of being on the drug. And if you do not participate, you have 0% chance of being on the drug. So if you had the option of 0% versus 50%, what would you choose? It's no brainer. I would take the 50% and 0%. So, at the end of the day, you get good medical care, you will find out where you belong, what's going on, what we can do for you, and then you not only may benefit from the study, but also you're helping the future generation. If you have the gene, you have Alzheimer's disease, you have to look at your children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. That's what's coming. So if you participate, you can be proud that to have been instrumental in development of a drug that helps patients. So, so much for the double-blind nature and the placebo. Next. Yeah, we already talked about that. We talked about that. Oh, another thing, go back. I remember I was in medical school in 80s. HIV came around. You were diagnosed with HIV, you developed AIDS, in 6 months, you were dead. Now HIV folks are living a full life. Why is that? Because of research. Why is that? Because of cocktail of medicines right now, they actually enable folks to live a full life. And for that reason, I'm hoping my vision and my dream is one day we'll have a cocktail of drugs that actually control the symptoms of Alzheimer's. So people say, I have Alzheimer's disease, but I'm taking these medicines to control my symptoms. So they continue with a quality of life, meaningful life. So that's basically what is our hope. Of course, our hope is to find a cure. But what I know about Alzheimer's disease, like I said, it's a complex disease. There are many different causes. It's not like HIV that you find a medicine for that. It's a complex brain disorder that I personally feel that one drug is not going to cure. It's going to be a combination of drugs to either cure or get the symptoms under good control. But again, without the research, we're not going to have that. Yeah, we talked about that. Heavy risk, we talked about that. Basically, it is what it is. It's Alzheimer's disease. It's a devastating disease. It robs people of their lives and livelihood. And I think one of the reasons that I go out there and educate the medical community, neurologists, internists, family practitioners, to get familiar with detection and the treatment of folks with Alzheimer's disease. And I always tell them, if you don't feel comfortable, send them to us. We'll be happy to take care of them. And most important thing, there is no charge for research. You don't have to pay, you're a volunteer. You can get in and get out without any questions asked. If I feel somebody's getting their study drug and they're not doing well, they're having side effects, I assess if it's safe for them to continue or not. And if I don't feel it's safe, we'll take them off the study. If somebody wants to move or they're getting tired, they don't want to do it anymore for whatever reason, we want to know why, and if they give me a good reason, then we'll stop. And if they say, I don't have any reason, I just don't want to do it, again, it's okay. Consent form was mentioned. Consent form is not a contract. It's you giving us permission to begin to investigate to see what you have. For example, if somebody comes to me with Alzheimer's disease or suspected Alzheimer's disease, and they want to participate in research, we do a lot of workup to determine if that person, in fact, has the markers and has the disease before we even offer them any treatment. In the old days, in the 90s, we just needed a CAT scan or MRI and a blood work for B12 and folic acid, and if everything was okay and they were not terribly sick, they got in the study. Now we have become very sophisticated. We look for biological markers of Alzheimer's disease before we subject these folks to the treatment. So if you don't have the markers, some of my argument is, let's do the workup. If you don't have the markers, if you don't have the genes, you will not get in the study. Simple as that. At least you'll find out where you belong. And if it's negative, have a nice life. If it's positive, why wouldn't you want to participate? So, all right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gloria. I do have some follow-up questions. How will the clinical trial affect a patient's daily life?
Actually,
Hello? Okay. Actually, the research medicines, the way I look at it is just another medicine. You know, for example, some of us are on 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 drugs. The research medicines are going to be just another medicine. You don't have to change any of the medicines. The reason for that is before we put someone in the study, we check all their medicines. We want to make sure what they're taking is not going to interfere with the study drug, or the study drug is not going to interfere with their medicines. So it's a very careful monitoring. It's just another medicine, whether it's going to be subcutaneous, IV, or pill, or inhaler, or whatever it is, it's just going to just look at it as another medicine.
What happens to the data while you're doing the clinical trial or after the clinical trial?
Sure. What happens is due to the double-blind nature of the study, double-blind meaning the patients are blinded to the treatment, I am blinded to the treatment as an investigator, because if I knew who's getting the drug, who's not, then my assessment would be biased. So the double-blind nature of the study, it just tells us that not only knowing who's getting the drug and who's not, but also some of the data, the statisticians of the pharmaceutical company do not share those information with us. In fact, we're not even allowed to tell folks, you're doing well or you're not doing well, maybe you're on medication, maybe you're not. We're not allowed to do that. We are allowed to see the patients, administer the medicine, administer the evaluation, and then send that to the pharmaceutical industry statisticians to do the assessments. However, at some point when the study is finished, when the company has all the data, then they will break the codes. They send us a list of who was on medicine and who was on placebo. When we do have that information, we share that with our patients.
What are some possible long-term effects?
Well, you know, the majority of the studies that I have done have been in the double-blind phase, has been 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, and the open label, the actual treatment could be years, 5 years, 10 years. So basically, it depends on the study, depends on the length of the study, the frequency of the visits, and how long the pharmaceutical industry needs to continue to gather their data.
Can a patient who is in a clinical trial speak to former patients about their experience? I know you said that everyone's different, but are they able to speak to someone else who may have done the clinical trial?
Well, let's say someone is my patient in research. It's not like the primary care or the general medical care. The information for the research, the person who's participating in research, their families is confidential. We do not provide information to anyone unless the patient says, yes, give information about me to this doctor or that doctor. Otherwise, we're not allowed to provide that information. For that reason, we are very limited about who we can say who's in the study. Some people may not want it, other people know that they're in the study. But in our website, we've had testimonials. I've done some presentations in TV, radio, or newspaper. In our website, they're welcome to go and read some patients' experiences. But individual, like this person, this is their phone number, we cannot do that.
How long will a patient be monitored after they finish the clinical trial?
Well, given the nature of as busy as we are in our clinical trials, let's say someone gets in the study, they're in the study a year or two, and the study finishes. At the end of the study, I always give my patients 2 options. You can either go to my private practice and become my patient in private practice, and I will just treat you. If they do not want to do any more research, they become my private patient. I do have a private practice. However, there are people who say, I finished this study, I think I may or may not have benefited. What else is out there? And then we look at other studies to see if that individual qualifies for any other studies. And if they do, that's what we'll do. If they do not, we'll keep them as a private patient until the next program becomes available.
Do we have any questions from the audience? If so, please stand and wait for the microphone.
Thank you. Doctor, I have two. What is the percentage of males versus females that have Alzheimer's?
Actually, technically, there are more female patients with Alzheimer's disease than males. Why, we don't know. However, I do have my opinion because women live longer than the male counterpart, and that may be one of the reasons.
Okay. The other question is, do most insurance policies cover the cost of treatment?
For research?
No, not for research. For if you want someone to become your patient.
Well, yeah, recently approved drugs have received some coverage, although there is still patient copay. There's a part, but some of the companies have patient assistance programs. For example, the newly approved drugs could be anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000 a year, and insurance and Medicare covers some, at least with the most recent drug, lecanemab. But it all depends on the insurance and whether Medicare is going to pay for it. But generally, for a lot of folks who want to get on these drugs.
Question, but it's more like a statement. I have a friend of mine who he was in the Vietnam War, but he got lost driving his vehicle. And this happened maybe 3 years ago, so he had to call his wife to come and get him to figure out where he was. And he had some other ailments, and I just wondered if it could possibly be some of the chemicals he may be exposed to in the war. Because he had some other.
There's a lot of theory out there about Agent Orange, the World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and all that. There are a group of scientists, they work on that. But given what we know about Alzheimer's disease, given the nature and the biological mechanism and the genetic risks that we know, there's no one chemical or a group of chemicals that cause Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a brain disease. Unfortunately, some of us develop that, not all, and they're due to many factors. Could be biological, could be chemical, but when someone gets lost, going to grocery store, that should be a wake-up call for the patient and the family to go get help, find out what's going on, begin to investigate. Remember, presentation of Alzheimer's disease is different. Some people, for example, they travel. They go to a different city for a vacation. They're in a hotel, different scenery, different everything. They get lost. That's usually a first clue. Something is going on with that brain. Somebody gets lost. Somebody leaves the stove on. Somebody becomes very depressed. Somebody becomes very aggressive. Any one of those should be a clue to check it out. You can't just ignore it. People who ignore it, then little by little they'll see more and more. That could be risky, and it's unfortunate, but it does happen.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, you mentioned earlier that you can get a swab test. Is that something I go to my primary and request that, or is that just strictly through your research?
No, actually, if you're willing to invest $100 or so, you get online. There's a website called 23andMe. A lot of people have heard about it. Just Google 23andMe. It will send you to that website, and then in that website, there's a bunch of questions, and then you answer the questions, then you pay. They will send you a kit, and you just go ahead and do the cheek swab or just spit in a tube and send it in, and then in a couple of weeks, the results will come. But you have to be specific that you're looking for Alzheimer's gene, because they will tell you about some diseases that nobody ever heard of. Just specifically ask for Alzheimer's, then in 2 weeks time, you'll get the result. When you get that result, on the bottom, it tells you what that result means. And then if you're not sure, that's when you bring it to your doctor. And your doctor will look into that and decide what to do.
You mentioned earlier in your presentation about early detection. But one of the things you mentioned was about age. What is that age range that you would like to have tested prior to people who are seniors? You didn't really give a range, you just said an age range.
Well, generally, it's recommended after the age of 65 when the Medicare kicks in to have a yearly checkup with your primary care physician, and generally at that age. However, what I can tell you is if you do not have a family history and you're a healthy person at the age of 50, you don't need to do anything. You just keep an eye. Take care of yourself, take care of your body like you take care of your car, oil change, brakes, and all that stuff. Take care of all that, and then you'll be fine for a long time. But for those of you who have a family member, or who are just curious Georges, want to get the genetic test done, if you have those markers, that's when you begin to look. In fact, right now we're doing a prevention trial, and that prevention trial is for folks at the 55 to 75 or 55 to 80. So basically, this is a trial for people who do not have memory problems, do not have cognitive issues, but they have family history, they may have the genes, and they may have the markers for Alzheimer's disease. So those are the folks who get in the study. The results, hopefully in a couple of years, are going to be available. But if the results show that we put normal folks in the study and we were able to actually put a dent in the course of the disease, at that age, 55, I would be the first one to recommend worldwide screening for anyone with Alzheimer's past a certain age. So that way, we will be detecting these folks early on and do the research and intervene to be able to help them in the long run. Until that result, I don't really recommend healthy folks to go around looking for these things unless you have a good reason, family history, genetics, and some other issues. So that's when you should become curious. Simply because if let's say if you're 50 years old and you're working, you're raising a family, you go and find out what you have. Since we do not have definitive cure, how is that going to affect your job? How is that going to affect your mentality? How is that going to affect your mood? You don't want to open a can of worms and start worrying about something that may happen 20 years from now. So that's why you have to talk to your doctors. When people come to me asking me similar questions, I always check the patient's status to see where they are, what's going on, what is their background, what is their family history, then make recommendations.
Hi, my name is Sharifa. I just have a question. You were talking about the preventive stage. Would that 23andMe will connect you with the preventive stage to get that?
Well, actually, no. There is no connection. Once you have the genetic results, if the results are positive, that's when you bring it to your doctor's attention.
So how do you get the kit? Is it a kit for that?
Yes, you get online. It's called 23andMe.
Right.
And then it will walk you through how to apply for that test and where to pay. And once you pay, they will mail you a kit. And then you follow the instructions, send it out, and in a couple of weeks, the results will come back. When the results come back, if it's negative, then you don't have to worry.
Oh.
If the results are positive, that's when you bring it to your doctor's attention.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have a question that's two-part as well. So if you do not know your genetic background, if you were in foster care or adopted, what is the first step that you all do if you say, okay, I'm interested in this research? Do you all do that test, that 23?
Well, we don't do a 23andMe, but we do our own genetic test.
To see?
For the participants, for the volunteers who want to participate in research, majority of our research programs do the genetic test.
Other cognitive issues other cognitive issues. Let's say a female, or I guess male, have been, had, let's say like migraines or those with bipolar, are they more susceptible towards getting Alzheimer's?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. I mean, unfortunately, majority of the studies do not accept folks with bipolar depression because of the mood swings and the unpredictability of the manic episodes. Collectively, a lot of research programs do not take folks with schizophrenia or bipolar depression. Mild depression is okay, antidepressants are okay, even antipsychotics and mood stabilizers are okay in some of the studies, but for bipolar, it's difficult to sell.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just ask really quick, should someone be concerned, like if you walk into a room and forget why you were in here?
I do that. I don't have to mention it. Walking into a room is not an issue because you have to remember, I think it's important that I mention one thing. There is a phenomenon called age-associated memory impairment. That means there are some forgetfulness that are benign. That's just a normal part of aging. For example, when we see elderly, they walk slower, they talk slower, they think slower. But you give them time, they will come up with the answer. The ones after you give them time and they do not come up with the answer, that's where the problem is.
I'm okay. Were there any online questions? Okay, well, Dr. Valori, you and your daughter Shireen are here, and I believe that you'll stay afterwards just in case anybody has any other questions or may want to talk with you about how they can get in touch with you. And we thank you again for doing your
Wasn't that awesome? Yeah. Wasn't that awesome? All right. So we have our last panel here, and I know we're standing between you and lunch, so we're going to try to do this quickly. So this is going to be a policy conversation. We're going to tie all of this together. I'm going to be the panelist on this, and I'm going to have my colleague Gabrielle Jones kind of feed you some questions. But before we get up on stage, I want to talk about a few things about policy. So let's talk about Tuskegee for a second. The United States government did that study. That was not pharmaceutical, that was not industry, that was the United States government. Our organization gets asked a lot of times to testify in front of different committees. We had an opportunity to testify in front of the FDA about approving a drug use or a new drug use for a certain medication. And we had the thing that the FDA was looking at was whether or not this drug did better than what was already on the market. So this is a real process. And they invited us to be a part of that because they know that we talk to you and we have the voice in the community. So that is important from a policy standpoint. And then finally, we had an opportunity to work with trying to lower drug costs for our seniors. And say it. So one of the responses we got back from the industry was that maybe this would cut into their ability to do clinical trials in the minority community. But because of your voice standing behind our company, we stood up to them to say, you're not going to point a gun at our community just because we need relief in this space. And they backtracked on this. And it's the importance of being able to raise your voice in an arena where these policies are being made, and you need to make sure you have the right people in place to advocate for your needs. So a little bit about me. I know I talked about HEAL. But for 16 years, I served as a member of the Georgia House of Representatives. I was state representative. I led a few committees, and I also was able to sit on our health committee and see how health policy is made. Also, in my background, I was a hospital administrator, so I worked in the hospital for over 2.5 decades, so I know how policy was implemented, and I knew how it was made. And I can tell you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, there are huge gaps in this process. Now, in our community, we need to make sure we have the right people advocating for our positions. Now, I guess I got the mic, so I'm just going to do a soapbox for a second right here. Always know who it is that's knocking on your door saying, I need your vote to put me in office. One of the things that I experienced as a legislator, and so somebody who works in the healthcare industry and then listening to people who are not in this space trying to make decisions, who had gotten elected because it was a beauty contest. And so I like the way that this person talked, or I like the rhyme, I like the way they look. And this has zero to do with how you do policy. So just real quick about Georgia. Georgia's annual budget is around $50 billion. There are 236 legislators that are elected to manage that budget. So do you think about these as your board of directors? If they don't understand finance, if they don't understand how policy is to be used to implement programs that will support you, the only thing they're interested in is shaking their fist in the wind. You might want to rethink that selection. But for our community, I'm gonna get real here. I'm in the church. Bishop, I'm in the church here. I'm gonna get real here. Those days are over. Folk are not scared of you. You can march in the street. But I can tell you right now, in the General Assembly in North Carolina, I know it's in Georgia, I know it's in South Carolina, I know it's in Louisiana, you name the state. If policy is going to move in our community, we're going to have to be at the capitals to make sure that happens. When I was serving in the legislature, and I can tell you in North Carolina it's the same way, because I talked to some of your colleagues here. When the General Assembly is in session, y'all are not there. You all come and you vote, and then you're done. But you have to keep that process engaged. I'm glad that we're talking about research here, because one of the things that we don't want, all of this, what I'm talking about today, is about research. You need to research the elected official that you're going to elect. And it is not about letting them tell you, you need to find out. What the Bible says the Bereans did? They received the word with gladness, but they went home to see what they say be so. And we're going to need to do that when people come and knock on the doors to say, I want your vote. Yeah, I hear you, but what have you done? What community initiative have you led? What have you done to make our community better? Where have you been? These questions need to be asked and answered by these individuals in this space. So with that, I have actually Commissioner Griffin here. He didn't serve in the General Assembly, but you all know him. Yeah. Y'all know him, right? All right, so we'll go on stage here, and we're going to talk about policy, its implications, and why it's important for you to be in this space, and why it ties around this particular issue so perfectly. So with that, Commissioner, let's roll. And I'm going to moderate this session. Y'all heard my heart, so you know I'm asking some tough questions for my brother here. But real quickly, so you can go ahead. You can introduce yourself. I know these folks know you, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
I appreciate that. My name is Arthur Griffin, and I currently serve you as an at-large county commissioner here in Mecklenburg County. I'm new to that role as of November of last year. However, prior to that, you may have known me chairing the Board of Education here for a number of years before I left town to go to New York and come back. I looked at the agenda, and I'm standing between you and lunch, so every good politician knows to be real respectful of food. But anyway, I was born in Good Samaritan Hospital, and most of you know my story, but as it relates to health care, I served as chair of the Mecklenburg County Board Public Health and Human Services Committee. So in that role, I get to look at what's going on in terms of public health and human services. In North Carolina, every county by statute is required to have a Board of Social Services, a Health Commission, and in North Carolina, they've allowed 13 counties to consolidate that activity. So right now, 9 members of your Board of County Commission serves with 3 different hats. We're your county commissioners that sets the tax rate. We also serve as the Health Commission here in Mecklenburg County, responsible for public health. And we also serve as a Board of Social Services, responsible for human services, the distribution of Medicaid, food stamps, etc. So as my good brother here from the great state of Georgia indicated, and my mom's from Macon, Georgia, we do have a responsibility to provide quality services. And you hear something called the social determinants of health. Mecklenburg County Board of County Commissioners are responsible for those in terms of education, the environment, access to clinical services. We are responsible. What excites me about my role as a county commissioner is I wanted to be involved in what's going on in the community in some of this work. And so the chairman appointed me as chair of the Public Health and Human Services Committee. However, the last 10 months, I've been doing a lot of reading and research and observations. And what I found was just horrible. As someone spoke, maybe it was you earlier, someone talked about the status of African Americans and all the things you don't want to be tops, and number one, that's where we are. But in public health here in Mecklenburg County, African Americans lead the pack in terms of premature deaths. I didn't know what premature deaths meant until I did some research. And you die before age of 65 from a preventable disease, of heart disease, stroke, cancer, diabetes, etc. The good doctor over here mentioned HIV. I mean, black males head the list in terms of HIV infections, and now black women are starting to catch up with HIV infection. So as I serve in that position, I'm asking the staff and all the people that work for us, what can we do to attack and provide quality health care for all the residents of Mecklenburg County, but more specifically to close and eliminate those health disparities that so significantly impact black folks. So just sitting over there on the side, I was just excited just to see all y'all in the room that's interested in health care. And so that gives me hope, and certainly gives me an opportunity to go back and say, why the heck were the county people here? Maybe they are. Anybody from Mecklenburg County Public Health in here? Not one? Retired. I'm talking about currently on the tax roll. I mean, so that's a concern for me. It's something I'm going to take back, because we can't change the outcomes unless we engage the public in this work. And I'm really excited to be here, and excited for these folks to bring the program to Charlotte, Mecklenburg. But we're gonna do our part. But I am very much concerned about health care. I'm drilling down each and every day. For some of you that know me, I don't always march to the beat of other people's drum. I kind of go the other way because I want to make a difference. We do a lot of talk in America. We do a lot of talk in North Carolina. We do a lot of talk here in Mecklenburg County, and the numbers are still horrible. Yes. I grew up here. We're in a position today that we have a better education. We have more money. We have all these wonderful things. Why are my people still struggling under these conditions?
Yes.
I'll stop at this point and try to entertain whatever questions, but I'll be respectful of the notion of what the schedule looks like.
No, that was awesome. He actually answered all the questions I was asking. but I will say that government that's closest to you has the biggest impact on you. So when you look at your U.S. Senator from North Carolina, you look at your state and your state representatives and your state senators, this man right here has more influence on what happens on you from a day-to-day basis than all those individuals combined. Now, they are important because they set the framework and how he operates, but he's the one that actually delivers the service. So with that, we'll just take questions from you all, because this is about you asking us about the legislative process, and I know we have one right here in the back of the room, ready to go.
I'd like to say good afternoon, family. It's great to be among you. Good to see you, Commissioner. You know that I circled your name straight to the list when they asked me to bring to this forum. So my question quickly, I have done sweat equity in this community for over 37 years. Right. And I do believe that when God releases you, He can also elevate your voice. That's right. So today I'm elevating my voice in space. The help that we need as a community, when we get momentum going, there's always the enemy to slow us down. And it's never on the outside. It's always in the inside. Yes. The work that I worked the most hardest was to figure out how to mobilize, how to organize. And finally, when I got faith-based organizations together, and I got them strong together. That's right. And taught them how to come to set the stage that we fill the chambers every year to the max. Mm-hmm. But when we get momentum, something like a village heartbeat, right. And I speak for those that are now working behind me in public health. Because I really don't see a whole lot that's like me yet. Yeah. But the help that they are going to need when you get another one like me in the system is not to cut them off, but to safeguard them. I had to write something that said courage to change courses. I didn't know why, but today I do know why. And so the help that I think, the roles that we need, and pastors, you can't slow down. You slow down when I exit. I'm out now. And I finally got my wings. Yeah. I finally got my wings back. So we're going to start coming back. But first and foremost, we're going to start first with your committee. And come and let them begin to tell. My last piece for you, Commissioner. What communities always leadership wants to do is always cut off history. Don't let government cut off the history that we have built with the momentum to begin to close the gap. And the one thing that I do know about data, I do know that Village Heartbeat changed lives. Yes, now what is changing today, I don't know. So I say my Village Heartbeat people, that if you have changed your diabetes, yes. You've changed your weight, you stand up in here. Elders, I thank you for being here today. Stand up, you all that can change your lifestyle. But you also need to support them and listen to them what they have to say. God bless you all.
I would just simply say, Sarah, you know I support you. If anybody knows me, I believe in data. In God I trust. All others must show data. That's been me from the beginning. And I believe in holding people accountable. We don't have metrics. When folk come to me telling me what the sad statistics are for African American health in this community, my response is, What's your plan to reduce this? What are we going to do? 10% reduction, 50% reduction? We have become accustomed, and if you know my experience of being in education, I'm looking for kids to be college and career ready. I'm looking for kids to do well in advanced placement, and I want to see the numbers. I bring that same perspective to county government as it relates to health care. I know it's a concern for people not to want to be responsible because of all of the factors involved with quality health care, but there's no reason for me to be able to, number one, if I don't deliver, I tell people, and I said this when I was running, don't vote for me. Okay? I don't want to be in that position if I'm not making a difference for my folks. So I am going to ask the tough questions. I have been asking the tough questions. I'll continue to ask those tough questions because it makes no sense for us to deal with the lack of quality access to quality health care. People use words like equity. Yes. People use words like access. But they use them from a perspective of being a noun. I do know a little bit about the language. And I'm looking for those words in terms of verbs. Okay? Access means being able to get to doctors. Don't tell me that of the 353,000 people on Medicaid, 80% don't have a real relationship with medical PCP. Tell me how to change that number from 80% to 50% to 20%, because all of your professional healthcare providers have indicated there are markers out there in terms of healthcare or eating the right foods and talking to your doctors. But if you don't go to the doctors because you can't get to them, or when you get to the doctors because of the business end of the healthcare and the quality access of healthcare don't match because you only have, some people told me you get 7 minutes per patient. I don't know if that's real or not, but at least that's the data they put in front of me. If you need more than 7%, we need to figure that out because it's having a negative impact on our folk, and this is not a time just to have narratives. This is a time for results. And Cheryl, I look not only to you and your organization, but every organization to be accountable as it relates to reducing the negative impacts for poor health in our community.
Gerald Martin, and basically home for me, and also the church on the grow. The question I have, you mentioned especially the gentleman from Georgia. You mentioned that I didn't know who was talking to you, and where did you go, or where would we people go to check that? Because if you want to find about voting history, their participation, and their advocacy, where would you go? What would you recommend people to do when that person comes with an advertisement, they're doing all these things? How do you check that?
So great question. There are a number of, so let's talk about, there are a number of websites that say, so you got Congress.org, Ballotpedia, things of that nature. But they also have their own website where they talk about who they are. And in reading through that, try to read between the lines, because people are going to sell their best self. It's almost like being on Facebook. So it's what you see, or Instagram, what you see is probably not real, or real-ish. And so kind of reading between the lines, and then kind of do your own research and asking tangential questions to what you're seeing. So let's say that I was treasurer of the Macon County NAACP. Well, I'm sure everybody knows somebody in the NAACP. And just ask, hey, you know this dude Howard Mosby? Is he said he worked in NAACP. I never heard of him before. I've never seen him at a meeting before. And you can find out real quickly about some people. Then there's some things out there that the street. The street they talk. It's street talk. And a lot of that, when smoke is fire, kind of pay attention to that. And then call them. Ask them up. Ask them the questions that you want to have answered. And if they want to answer your question, they want to answer the phone with a swipe left, keep it moving. Because because that's how they're gonna be when they get in office.
Let me just add to that. I just ran for office here in Mecklenburg County, and I had 4 objectives. One is educational attainment, because we're paying millions of dollars for corporations to come into Mecklenburg County, and your babies locally ain't getting those jobs, okay? Because they don't compete. So if we don't come up with a better plan to educate our folk, they're not gonna get these jobs as they come to town. Second was access to quality health care, was one of my goals. So I meet with Novant and Atrium. In fact, on Monday morning, I meet with a team of executives from Atrium to figure out why is it that 80% of the folk don't get to see you guys on a regular basis. I'm gonna do that, okay? Number 3, I talked about affordable housing. I'll be able to come back to you and tell you how many units of affordable housing I voted for. Number 4 was economic development, upward mobility. I said I wanted to put a bubble around 100 families. I didn't get 100 families, sir, but I did get 50 families that we put in a bubble, and we're gonna follow them for 5 years to move them from welfare to a living wage job. So when I come back in front of you, you ask me, what were your 4 objectives that you ran on, and what the heck did you do about those 4 things? That's what you have to do. We don't do that in Mecklenburg County enough with the people. When I say to you, I ran on 4 things, when I come back to you, I'll tell you exactly what I'm able to do, and then you make that decision whether or not it meets your criteria, and you vote for me. I retired twice. Once as a lieutenant colonel in the military and being a Vietnam veteran, and I left New York City, McGraw-Hill as a senior vice president. So I am not running for me, or my name, or doing this work for me. I can go back, sit on the couch where my wife told me that I should be doing anyway, and let those checks come every month. But I think we can do a better job other than reciting the horrible statistics about what's happening to our people. Let's do something about it. But hold me accountable, and hold everybody that looks like me accountable for moving the needle on behalf of African American children and families in this town.
I'm voting for him, I only live here.
I just wanted to just put a cap on the things that I've been listening to in terms of healthcare. I am an agent of Medicare. I'm a Medicare agent, so I work and pointed with a number of carriers here. So one of the things that I wanted to say, because I run into that on a regular basis when I see my clients, please know what it is in your plan. There are a number of things that are addressed and will help to address certain situations and health needs that you have. The other thing is that the carriers are beginning to ask and request of the doctors to spend more time with you as you go into the hospital or as you go in to see them. What you need to do is to ask for that. There are agencies and other groups that are coming into, especially North Carolina, that are giving you the opportunity to stand and sit with a doctor for more than 7 minutes. The carriers every year, once you get your plan, every year they will call you at the beginning of the year to say, I want to come see you. That want to come see you is 45 minutes that you don't have to sit with your primary care provider or your PCP, but that information goes directly to him or her to say these are the other things that are necessary for you to see and speak to the clients about. So the various things that we are talking here, it doesn't mitigate, doesn't stop everything, but the plans are there. Know also what is in your plan. Too many times I've gone into a client's home and she does not know that she has $300 for a pair of glasses and she's trying to see. She does not know that she has food that she can get on a Healthy U card, $326 every month. You don't know that you have that could take you and buy food for you. What happens is you talk to me and I talk to United Healthcare. Their carriers are on the ground here in Charlotte. So you talk to me, I talk to United Healthcare, I talk to Humana, Aetna, whomever, and I tell them what your issues are. And they make preparations and put benefits in the plans that you already have. Every year, please see what it is your plan is in your plan, because it changes and it increases in benefits, also drops some things. Okay, thank you so much.
All right. But we also have the responsibility, I think Mecklenburg County government has a responsibility to do everything we can do too, to help educate the recipients out there as to what's in their plan. I did not know that some of the plans offered $150 a year for your kids can join Boys and Girls Club, you can join the YMCA, you can go exercise as one of the determinants. So what we're gonna try to do is piggyback on what you have brought to us with the other churches, and
You listening to me?
I'm listening, okay? But I'm also gonna deliver and not just listen, to make sure that some of these things are acted upon to improve the outcomes for our folk. And that's why I love this session so much. This ought to be happening 100 times in all these churches in our community.
Hello everyone, glad to be here again for the second time, and it's great information. Again, I'm a community health worker with Atrium Health, and what Atrium has done, you can take that when you meet with them, they have developed a program called Community Health. And we are community health workers that are certified. That's right. We work in the community. We actually working at helping people with referrals, with housing, like rental, needing benefits with paying rent, paying water bill, or maybe a food referral. Also to educate you on health, how to navigate our health system. We also have community health workers that are in the school system, so we do have grant money that has put our community health workers in the school systems to be able to help the families in the school systems as well. So that's one thing that Atrium has done, and they came about this program. When you go into Atrium and you meet with your doctor, they do ask you those social determinant questions, whatever you may need. And if you need assistance with housing, with transportation, with food, then they will enroll you in, see if you want to be enrolled in that program. So that's one thing that you can take back to Mr. Gene Wood, that you can say Pamela Harrison educated you on, that we are doing to help make your health situation better. And like I said, my program is to stay in place, which we partner with the city. So one part of that is to also help those own their homes and to help you stay in it by providing you service about grant money that can help, like with plumbing, can help with roofing, can help with tree trimming. So that's also a part that they also look at to make your environment even more healthy. So what Atrium wants to do is to have a healthy community, but at the same time to have healthy people in the community.
Please invite me back, or invite myself back to this person. But we ought to be on the front lines. I'm gonna tell you why. Atrium is now Advocate Health, probably the 5th largest conglomerate of healthcare in the country. But also we're building a medical school over here in Brooklyn, off of Baxter Street, if y'all familiar with Charlotte, historically. And there's an African-American female, young lady, who's the dean of the medical school, Wake Forest Medical School. So Pearl is going to also happen in that little area for you native Charlotteans, where Pearl Street used to be, right across over from Pearl Street, is going to build a whole new international medical research area. That's going to happen. So all of the world's healthcare is going to be sort of focused with a little focusing on Mecklenburg County. It makes no sense for us not to have better health outcomes with all that stuff being planned right here in your little city. So please join this train and make sure that we utilize and take advantage of those things out there and have people in office, whether it's me or whether it's anybody else, hold us accountable. Thank you.
And we're going to close this out with the fact that what you don't want to have happen all these programs that have just been highlighted to you, when budgets get tight, these are the ones that they go after. Make sure that you keep your elected officials accountable, that they don't come after our community first. And that's generally what happens. And so this is why your voice is important. This is why it's important for us to be here today. So I want to thank you all for allowing us to be here today. I want to thank Commissioner Griffin for showing up and showing out. This is family. We are all family. All right? Say it. We are family. And so we're happy to be here. And I think that, who am I going to turn this back over to? Turn it back over to Shar. And we're going to close this program out. Again, thank you very much for having us here today.
Thank you.
Wasn't this wonderful? For our church and our community. And we would like for all the speakers to please come up, because we want you to give a 1 minute, 60 seconds call to action. So if all the speakers would please come up. Yeah, you gotta come back up, Remy.
Okay, from my talk, I think the most important take-home message should be get involved, keep an eye on your seniors, make sure you see the warning signs, don't just ignore that just because it's aging, and Alzheimer's disease is not a normal part of aging, although the risks increase. So you as family members, keep an eye on your folks who are having some memory problems. Just don't ignore it, don't let it go, get involved, talk to their doctors, go to their visits, make sure the doctor is aware of what you're seeing, and that's how we can get involved. It's not uncommon. Sometimes we get folks that they are too far gone for us to be able to help, simply because either the family missed it or their doctors missed it. You have a responsibility to keep an eye on the seniors in your community, in your family, to detect early signs of Alzheimer's disease and get the help and give them a chance when they can be helped.
I think for me, it's stay informed, make great decisions for each other, be there for each other, and help each other out as a community.
I would say taking a small baby steps. You can't do everything and every day at one time. So show yourself grace, show yourself gratitude, and if you think about the rainbow, and just try to at least do at least one thing to support your body and the health of someone else.
I've already said in terms of accountability, but I just go back in terms of our ancestors. Just think about the folks' shoulders that we all stand on, and what they want for us in terms of our children's children's children. And make sure that we stand strong and do the things in terms of each one reach one. We can and we will make a difference. You can and you will make a difference. Thank you.
And again, on behalf of Hill Collaborative, Valjean, this church, that we want to thank you all for coming out today. It has been indeed an honor and a blessing for me. I haven't had the opportunity to spend this kind of time in Charlotte, and it's been wonderful. This is what our community needs, and I encourage the church to continue this process going forward. We cannot let this ball drop. This is really about making our communities better. Healthcare is, you start here, you talk about education, but there are a number of different issues that our community, we need, that this should be ground zero when we had these conversations. This is the moral place, I believe, that we start conversations to change our community going forward. So with that, I'll say.
Again, let's give them a round of applause. So with that being said, we want to keep the momentum going. You all came to our church, Greer Heights, and supported us, so we would like to have you support others. There is a health and wellness ministry and intergenerational resource hub, and it's a health and Wellness Expo, the 4th annual, and that's on November 4th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. They will have gifts, they will have giveaways, there'll be mobile health screenings, health and wellness vendors, vaccinations, free food, and much more. I have the flyers, and they'll be out in the narthex, so please get a flyer and please support. This is coming from, I believe it's coming from the Greater Salem Church. So we want to support them like you all supported us. And at this time, I would like for the Greer Heights Presbyterian Health and Wellness members to please come up. I believe Ms. Inez is downstairs. Please have her come up. And Lashita Phyllis had to step away. But as they come up, back in 2009, we had to turn in reports to the session, and we came up with a motto, and I know that Ms. Price remembers it, and Ms. Alexander probably remembers it, but our motto back then was think healthy, live healthy, stay healthy. So we want for you all to take that motto with you as you leave today. And as we have the members come up, we have Ms. Dr. Lashita David, we have Mrs. Inez Alexander, we have Mrs. Jeanette Price, who is co-chair, as well as myself, Shara Simmons, who's co-chair. And we would like for Ms. Cheryl Emanuel to please stand. We want to publicly thank you, Ms. Cheryl Emanuel, because you brought this to our church, you brought this to our ministry. We want to thank you. And then we also would like for Ms. Gabrielle Jones to please come forward. Ms. Jones, please accept this gift basket from us. This is just a little token of our love and appreciation. You have dealt with us, our many calls, our many Zoom meetings, our many emails, texts. So Ms. Jones, she was like the backbone, and we worked very hard, and it was good to see the fruits of our labor, so we just want to thank you. And we also want to thank the participants who are online. So you're online, we want to thank you. You may not have been able to come in person, but we thank you for your participation as well. So as we prepare to close, remember to get the flyer that's out there. And if you didn't get the purple, if you didn't get the purple ribbon, please get a ribbon, because Alzheimer's And Dementia Awareness Month is October. So wear it proudly, wear it in October. And we also had Dr. Stacy Brown, who moderated during the first session, and then also Phyllis Barnett, who's a part of our ministry as well, so we don't want to leave them out. And if possible, I believe it's Bishop Ferguson. If you could lead us in a prayer for our box lunch that we have downstairs, it would be greatly appreciated. Someone can hand you the mic.
I think I'm loud enough. And if I'm not, just let me know and I'll go a little bit higher. I usually bring my own bass. First of all, can we just give God praise for God be the glory. What an outstanding program it has been.
Need the mic.
Testing 1, 2.
Yes.
Let's give God some praise. That's it. Listen, I want to say thank you so much for the hearts and the hands and also the scope of insight that we see from those who are here. Many times people say what we're not doing, but this says what we are doing and what we can do. It starts in the house. Charity always begins at home. And so let's pray together. Father, we do thank you for this opportunity to come together, Lord God, in the spirit of being on one accord. We call that home of Thumadon, Lord God. But Father, there's no big eyes, there's no little U's. It's just us and our heart to you, God. And so, Father, now we pray over the food that we're about to receive. We ask, Lord God, that you will touch the hands that prepared it, making nourishment for our bodies. Lord God, we thank you, Lord God, for the spiritual, the physical, the mental, the emotional, Lord God, and even the financial. That, Lord God, has come together, Lord God, to begin to walk in harmony and unity and togetherness, Lord God. Father, we thank you and praise you. We give you honor, we give you glory for this. In Jesus' name, we do pray. Can somebody say amen? Amen.